Welcome to the Hamsey Analytics Daily Market Commentary. I'm Pablo Navarro. Today is Monday, December 3rd, 2012. For the market internals, the New York Stock Exchange Advanced Decline Differential closed at negative 652. Nasdaq Advanced Decline Differential closed at negative 259. We had 30 new 52-week highs for the S&P 500 and 1 new 52-week low for the S&P 500. For the volatility, 641,000 contracts traded on the VIX today, with 49 million in total premiums paid. For the dollar-weighted put-call ratio in December, we saw one reading which is neutral, with 39% of the total premiums paid. Then on January, a 0.33 reading which is bearish, with 23% of the total premiums paid. And for February, March, and April, all of them were bearish readings, with 10 and 14% of the total premiums paid. As you can see here, the sentiment for the dollar-weighted put-call ratio was bearish overall. Here we have our daily chart for SPX. As you can see here, we are down 6.72 handles for the day. And the important thing here to notice is that we have an outside bar reversal. We finished almost at the lows of the day. Pretty bearish bar here. And here we were up in the morning overall about 6 or 7 handles, and then we just dropped down throughout the day, finishing down thanks to ISM, which came around 49. We were expecting above 50, and that was the reason we started selling off throughout the day. Here we have our moving averages chart. As you can see here, important level. We talked about this 1424. We touched that level. That was our target. We wanted to break it. We failed, and then we start drifting lower. From here, it looks like we are going to start to go lower. We failed at this very important level, and now I'm looking for 1385 here on SPX on the next couple of weeks. For our support, pivot, and resistance, here we have them for SPX. We're looking at a weekly pivot of 1407. That's going to be important to hold. If we do not hold, our first target would be 1394 and then 1372. As I mentioned, I'm looking for a retest of the 200-day moving average, 1385. So that's what to look here. And on the upside, we're looking around to break today's high of 1424. Let's go to the SPY chart. Pretty much the same pattern here. As you can see, we failed at the 55-day moving average at 142.85. And here now we're holding the 100-day moving average, important, but looks like we are going to test the 138.78. That's what I'm looking here. Go and test that 200-day moving average on the next couple of weeks. That would be change if we do break this 55-day moving average to the upside or the 142.85 level. For our support, pivot, and resistance on SPY, here you can see it. We are almost breaking our weekly pivot of 141.2. Below that, I'm looking for 139.87 and 137.7. That's going to be the targets here. Support, pivot, and resistance, very important levels, just to keep them in mind here. If we go to our Qs chart, here we have the Nasdaq ETF. Another very interesting pattern. We talked about the 155-day moving average on Friday on a confluence level. We tried today to test it on the upside. We failed, and then we reversed to the downside. I'm looking here to see if this 200-day moving average around 65.50 is going to hold. And if it is, maybe try to go bullish here on the Nasdaq ETF. If we look for the 60-minute chart, here we have the support, pivot, and resistance. The 65.40 is our weekly pivot. That is a little below the 200-day moving average we just talked about. So keep an eye on that 65.50, 65.40 level. Very interesting, very important to see if we're going to start to go higher or we're going to drop back down again. For the IWM, here you can see it, the Russell 2000 ETF. We have tried 3 times to break the 55-day moving average and close above it, and none of them have worked. We broke it today intraday. We were above it for a long time. We broke last week's highs, and then we started drifting lower. We closed below it. So I'm looking for a test of 81.31 and then a test of 80.5. That's going to be pretty important. So let's look at those two levels on the downside. Of course, on the upside, we want to close above this 82.18. That is the 55-day moving average. For the IWM support, pivot, and resistance, 81.40 is the weekly pivot. That's going to be critical to hold. Maybe try to go above and try to test 83.14, or if we break to the downside, 80.36. So keep an eye on these levels. For GLD, here we have the chart for GLD. We talked about a bearish pattern here. We've been talking about that since we broke the 55-day moving average to the downside. And here we have it. I'm looking for a test of the 64 level. That's going to be very important. If we do not hold the 64 level, 161.5. So 164 and then 161.5. Let's look how it works from here. We finished almost at the lows of the day. Futures were higher in the opening and then we drift lower throughout the day. Very important here, finishing at the lows of the day. Pretty much flat. For our support, pivot, and resistance, here we have it. I'm looking for the 164.34, pretty close to our 164 level. And then if we break that to the downside, we might be looking to 162.67. So keep an eye on these levels. Weekly pivot around 167.04, very important also. For SLV, a lot. Very bullish pattern here. We talked about it. We're still bullish here. We did finish at the lows of the day, but still we had a nice day, up 0.6% for SLV. We're still holding our upward trend line we've been talking about and the 55-day moving average. Any long position from here would be discredited if we finish below 32.3 or 32.25. That would be the stop there. And we're looking for a 34 target, so maybe a good risk reward from here, from this zone. Risking 30 cents to make 1.5 on the upside, so keep an eye on SLV here. For our support, pivot, and resistance, we are at the weekly pivot, 32.50, and we want to go higher, maybe test this 33.15 and then 33.93. Remember, this week we have non-farm payrolls, very important. It's going to take the first row and see if we're going to continue to go higher or we're going to try to trend back lower and test those lows again. So keep an eye on non-farm payrolls. That's going to be critical. For the VIX, here we have our daily chart. Friday we had an outside day reversal and today we have a continuation, which is important here. Almost 5% higher for the day. I'm looking for a retest of the 200-day moving average, 17.55. I'm bullish on the VIX, neutral to bearish on equities, as you can see here. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on here.